Welcome to Seal Beach, California on Lokar Car Show. Today, we bring you Southern California's premier classic cars from the Seal Beach Classic Car Show. Nothing draws a crowd quite like this. Each year, Main Street closes down to welcome over 25,000 visitors and in excess of 550 cars, live music and attractions. Year after year, businesses, the Seal Beach Chamber of Commerce, and the City of Seal Beach come together to produce one of Southern California's most memorable automotive events. We stop to speak with Sam Fine and take a look at his 1955 Oldsmobile Holiday Super 88. This is a full restoration with original engine and driveline. Mr. Fine is a driver and loves his collection.
Well, it actually belonged to a girlfriend of a friend of mine, and back in 1989 she decided she was going to sell it. And I really liked the car. It was red and white, although I've had it repainted a different red and white now than what it was then. But I liked the car and decided I would add it to my collection of old cars. When I bought it, it was pretty much in original condition. And the first thing I did was have the brakes, the engine, the transmission, the differential, everything rebuilt back to original. You know, slightly bored over just to clean up the cylinders, but basically it's a stock 324 Oldsmobile Super 88, which means 4-barrel engine. I read all the car magazines and watch all the television programs on Velocity and other channels, and certain cars reach out and grab you. You say, I just want to have one of those. And this happened to be one of those cars, but I'm not a single mark type person, and I just like having a variety of different kinds of cars to drive. That way, whenever I get in the car, it seems fresh and new, and it's never boring because you're not driving the same car all the time.
Looking at this 1955 Chevrolet 210 Post, you may notice that it is a resto mod. The owner, Ted Spacif, tells us that he added upper A-arms and a larger radiator for drivability. The paint is unique, but not all the decisions are his. Let's hear from him about how this car gives back.
My wife and I were looking for a car that we could enjoy and drive each and every day. We wanted a car that had performance to it, but also that we could sit and talk and carry on a conversation as we drove down the highway. Actually what we did a couple things. We put upper A-arms on it so it give it better drivability. Tracks better down the road, rides a lot smoother with the upper A-arms. We actually put a triple core radiator in it. And we did that because it's fan driven, there's no electric fans, it's actually mechanically fan driven. And that way it keeps it cooler when we drive it or if we're in traffic, so it runs really well. We've had it 7 years, there was 4,000 miles when I bought it. We now are at 14,000 miles, so we drive it a couple thousand miles a year. And it's mainly just for enjoyment, giving people rides. We do a thing where for fundraisers at our church, we'll give people a cruise in the car, and we'll take them down to a diner, an old 50s diner called Ruby's, and then we'll cruise back up PCH and everything, so it's a lot of fun doing that.
Ford Fairlane was a household name in the 1960s. The Fairlane was one of the iconic small car, big engine modifications made in the 1960s that helped usher in the muscle car era. Jim Wall tells us why his 500 Sports Coupe is so special.
I was up playing golf with some buddies of mine who used to live down here, and they were up in Oregon. And I drove by this going to a golf course, and first I looked at it and, oh, there's an old Comet. The second day I went by it, I went, that's not a Comet, what is it? So I had to stop and look and see what it was. Well, it isn't actually restored. I repainted it and just cleaned it up. All the bright parts and stuff like that, none of the chrome's been done. The interior headliner and door panels and all that stuff's original. Dash is original. Pretty much the car's just kind of standing original. The engine's a 221 V8. It's the first of the Windsor blocks. In '62, they made a Windsor block for 62. By 63, they were same block and making 260s, then to 289 and 302s. That's it. Drive my grandson around and take people around and go to car shows, hang out with people I know. Actually, when I brought this one home, I did trailer it home, even though it was running. I trailered it home from up there, and my youngest daughter, as soon as she looked at it, she just went, "That one's mine." So I have to say that it is my daughter's, Katie's. I keep my cars at the Hot Rod Hotel, and that's the only place I know where you can store a car around here. And actually, they have a whole building that's lifts and all the equipment. So if you store a car there, you can work on it, do brake jobs, rebuild the engine. I just got done rebuilding this engine 3 weeks ago.
The Seal Beach Classic Car Show is a great place to rub elbows with some industry celebs. Host of Wheeler Dealers, Mike Brewer, is one of those you might run into like we did. We're going to take a second and see what he says about the Seal Beach Classic Car Show.
Hey, you know what's great about the Seal Beach Classic Car Shows? You never know who you're going to run into. Here's my dear friend, Mike Brewer. We all know Mike from Wheeler Dealer on television. So, Mike, welcome to Seal Beach.
Well, it's like another day in paradise, isn't it? This is fantastic. What a great show.
Thank you. Yeah, you know, we've got so many cars here, all kinds of different varieties. Now, we know that you know cars.
Yes, sir.
What do you think of this show so far today?
Well, I've got to tell you, this is amazing. You know, to put on something like this in a main street in a small town, and to put this on is just gobsmacking. And the quality of the cars here is gobsmacking. I mean, walking down the street, I'm immersed in anything from all four corners of the world. There's American classics, there's European classics behind us, some very nice 911s and 912 Porsches down there. And yeah, people have put on a great display, or you put on a great display. Great cars, great show, fantastic weather. But what makes a show are the people. And there's some lovely people here as well.
Yeah, there really are. And you know, I'm sorry that we couldn't have any great English weather for you. It's not overcast, it's not foggy, it's not raining. But we're just delighted that you could come and enjoy this weather. And you know, we have a lot more cars to see. So let's go down the pier and check them out.
Yeah, I'd love to. Yes, fantastic.
Right. Yeah.
See you later.
The Lokar Car Show, presented by Original Parts Group, is brought to you by ARP, proudly made in the USA, the world leader in fastener technology. Original Parts Group, world-class restoration parts. Lokar, quality, plain and simple. And by National Parts Depot, make your dream happen.
This will be our 4th year in Seal Beach. We're so excited to be here. Every year, Seal Beach just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and the cars just get more fantastic and better every single year. Well, Russo One Steel is very embedded into the Southern California car culture. We're housed out of, our offices are in Scottsdale, Arizona. We do the Scottsdale auction during auction week there. We also do our Newport Beach auction here, right in Newport Beach, first week of June 8th through the 12th. And then we go to Monterey, the 3rd weekend in August, to be a part of the Monterey auction events and the Pebble Beach car shows. So this is really an intricate area for us, and to be a part of this culture is very special to us. It's amazing how much interest there is in this show. I've been watching it grow over the last 4 years, and you'll find that at the end of today's show, they will be sold out for next year. That means 600 entries will be filled for next year's show already. So if you want to get in a week from now, you can't. This is how popular this area has become, and this is how much of a show this has become in Southern California. This is one of the greatest shows of all of the spring show events down here, from San Diego all the way to Santa Barbara. This is one of the best.
Now that we've heard from an industry rep from Russo and Steel, let us jump back over to an everyday gearhead. Mark Demere's 1970 Chevelle is blown to the gills. He wanted this car because he had a Camaro in high school and his buddy had a Chevelle. He has achieved a personal goal of owning some nostalgic vehicles, but I'm going to let him tell you the story.
You know, I've been a gearhead my whole life, and you know, even when I was a kid, I took my mini bike apart and just stuff like that, you know. I mean, bicycles, anything that was mechanical, I would work on it. So I've got a long past of doing this kind of thing. It's a passion for me. Found the car about 2001, worked on it till 2004, July 17th exactly. July 18th, I put it in my first car show and won Best of Show and Best of Engine. So that was my first day out, and I've been doing car shows ever since 2004 with this car. I have other cars too. I have a 69 Z28 Camaro, blown also just like this car here. I like the Camaros and I like the Chevelles because in high school I had the Camaro. My buddy had a Chevelle and I had to have one. So that's where I am with trying to, I've already attained my goal of having cars that I had back in high school, or one that I wanted to attain from high school.
Hi, my name's Jeff, and this is my 1961 Nash Metropolitan. They started making them in 1954 and built them up into 1962. They were built for the American market, but they're actually made in the UK and share a lot of components and parts from a lot of the British cars like MGs and Austins and so forth. So it's got a 1500cc engine. It develops a whopping 52 horsepower. Top speed with the standard transmission, etc., is about 58 miles an hour, but I do get over 30 miles to the gallon. And it's got what we lovingly call a 3 on the tree, a 3-speed transmission. And they made both convertibles and hardtops. This is obviously a convertible. And a couple of unique facts about it is that it's actually got a shorter wheelbase than the original VW Bug. So I've owned it for about 5 years. I painted it, put something a little bit different for the upholstery on the inside, but it's a daily driver and really enjoy the car.
My wife and I bought this car from my wife's aunt. My wife's aunt bought this car in 1956 at Lakewood Motors. She bought it right off the showroom floor because they didn't have any available and they had that one. And so they had it until 1963. And in 1963, my wife and I were able to buy that from her. At that time, it cost us $800. And we have had it ever since 1963. My wife passed away in 2011, but this was her daily car. She drove the kids to school. She brought the kids down here to Seal Beach. She had as many as 7 kids in this car, and they'd go down to the beach. So she drove it everywhere. And then I put it away for a while. So now I'm back to driving it again. This has 141,300 miles, actual miles. It's all original. The original engine, original transmission, all the inside upholstery. That's the way the car came. So that it has quite a history to it. This is a unique model in that the type of seat covers it has, they were only put in this color of 56 white top Inca red convertible by Carmen Gia. So it's a very original car and very few around. It brings those memories back of my wife, who, like I said, we were together for 50 years, and I have her picture right here because she's still part of this car.
Stay tuned to see amazing automotive heritage and hear the stories from the people that cherish these chariots. It's time for Lokar Lowdown with Jeffrey Walls.
Hopefully you've seen one of these displays in your local hot rod parts store, but this is our flexible stainless engine and trans dipstick display of the dipstick we've been making for the past 25 years. As you know, this was developed for street rods and hot rods with a slim design for the housing of things. Now, we also offer this in black, as you've seen in our Midnight series, but one of the things that you'll notice is we've also got a locking dipstick now. That locking dipstick was developed through our racing program, and it found out that it worked out rather well. It prevented things where the dipstick would blow out due to crankcase pressure and things of that nature that other people run into. So this actually applies pretty well to other cars and street rods that are running high performance engines on the street as well. Our transmission dipstick also locks and bolts to the pan. That way it doesn't blow out at the bottom of the dipstick. These are all offered in both black and stainless, So please call today and order your transmission or engine dipstick.
A car that you may dream of owning is a Merc lead sled. If you haven't dreamt of owning one of these cars, you might after seeing this one. The 1951 Mercury is a full custom job built by Elvin Scalisi. He may have customized every inch of this car. Wow, what a Mercury.
Well, I designed the entire car. I started with the front end. In the beginning, I Frenched the headlights. I put in a DeSoto grill. I walked out of the backyard garage to the back garage one day. I looked at it, and I actually took my plasma cutter and cut the entire front end off and started again so that I could have something a little more personal as far as custom goes. I also went into the rear. I took the Mercury headlights off. I went into a 1960 Chrysler. Quite a task to put those in. It took us almost 7 days to get one in. The second one took only 1 day, so we already had a knack for it. I also did the windows on this car. They're called wedged. The roof is chopped, also wedged, and that's to give it a motion when it's parked. If you look at the line on the Mercury light windows there, they're higher in the back and they rudge down to the front. The rear window, I took the 51 out. It's not too desirable, and I put a 50. Gives it a better look. I put also a Vortex engine in it, about 400 horse. It's all electric, electronic. I got a custom dash. I got a 1949 Mercury. I centered all the gauges. I lid every gauge, and that's to give it again a custom. I got the entire back of the car. I got it all panned out in the rear wheels so that I had to do custom. If you look at the back seat, it's all custom again. I have tuck and roll running down like a fall on both sides. The rims are 17s. They're not normally used on a drop car like this. They're always using the chrome, the Lancers, the hubcaps, so forth like that. These are 17. These are Diablo wheels, which I believe gives it a much better look.
You don't want to miss the rest of the cars from sunny Seal Beach, California. The Lokar Car Show, presented by Original Parts Group, is brought to you by ARP, proudly made in the USA, the world leader in fastener technology. Original Parts Group, world-class restoration parts. Lokar, quality, plain and simple. And by National Parts Depot, make your dream happen. Resto Parts Restoration, powered by Original Parts Group.
Here at Resto Parts, we specialize in the GMA body for over 35 years. This is one of the most common installs people do. The F41 suspension, which is very popular for all the muscle cars of the midsize GM model. And we offer these box control arm inserts to convert your stock open control arms into this SS, GTO, GS 442 style closed control arms that you see here. What this does is this eliminates any kind of flexing or any kind of ride issues when you install a sway bar on an open control arm. And let me show you how to do that. You get your insert. The insert is the length of the open part of the control arm. So all you have to do is lay it in place and tap it in. There's existing holes on your control arms. Those don't mean anything. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Once you lay this control arm insert into the control arm, okay, you're gonna have to measure the depth of these two hoops right here. That's also gonna give you the opening of the holes you will have to drill and how deep you want them in place. Also, what you gotta do is you gotta grind down a little bit of your control arm down, and this has to be spot welded into place. What you're gonna end up with is a control arm that looks just like this one. Okay, as you can see, spot welds are all done. The insert's painted to match, and the two hoops have drills or have holes drilled into place. This is where your sway bar is gonna bolt on. Once this is done and it's inside the car, you line it up to your sway bar. As you see here, you get your hardware. As you put your bolts in, there's another part to this kit. Okay, these are the shims. These shims will help you align your sway bar left and right, and also keeps it from rubbing against metal on the inside of your sway bars. So we're looking at the bottom part of the control arm, but this goes in through the top. Once you line up your shims, you run your bolts, and you're all done. It looks like factory updated suspension, and you have that good handling that everyone wants from their muscle car.
I saw it on eBay, I went and saw the car. So it was out in the valley. I drove out there, saw it, liked it, came home, told my wife about it, and she said, orange? I hate orange. But when she saw the car, she said it was pretty, so she let me buy it. I've changed the wheels and tires on it. I've changed the engine twice, and I'm in the process of changing a few other things, rear end, and I just put a fuel injection system on it from Edelbrock, and it runs like a top. 500 plus horse. I haven't had it on the dyno since the fuel injection's been put on, but it's potent. It's a 406 engine and a lot of power. I was looking for a 65 and 65 with some horsepower, and it had a 396 in it, but it just didn't have the oomph that I wanted. So then I changed it, and that engine didn't have the oomph that I wanted. So I turned around, and my son was getting rid of his car, so I said, I'm taking the engine out of that and putting it in this, and that's where it's at now.
Thanks for tuning in to Lokar Car Show today, and make sure you come back next week. There were so many amazing cars at the Seal Beach Classic Car Show. We're going to bring you more from sunny California.